button.
Let's see. All right. Status quo in the house. United Corporations of America. Move this so it's not so dangling. Hope everybody's having a good time, having a good day. I hope everybody is ready for the weekend. It's been quite a few weeks here for me, for Jen, and good weeks, but quite a lot going on. I'm going to wait for some folks to trickle in here. So more people can see this. Hit that like button, smash it, share this live stream if you can. The more people that see this, the more people that like it, the more people that will see this very live stream. I have a couple announcements to make, but I'll wait for more people to come in. 1 second. Oh boy. Hold on. Just trying to find something. Oh boy. Why do I lose everything? Hold on, folks. I'll be with you in a second. Can't find it. Oh well. So, for those of you that have been following at home, we were in Cleveland covering the Nina Turner campaign and that election. Unfortunately, she lost. Then we went to Flint to cover the ongoing cover-up of the Flint water crisis, and spoke with residents who are still actively suffering. So a lot going on there. And I've been back. I tried to take days off, but I have found in this line of work, particularly having your own media outlet, it's kind of hard to take time off. So I haven't been able to take a day off. I'm going to take tomorrow off, hopefully. But a lot to cover. We actually have not even spoken about Nina Turner's loss because I haven't been live since we got back. I was live yesterday on Rockfin from the Staten Island warehouse of Amazon, where we covered the workers trying to unionize their first press conference. So that was really great. The whole live stream is up on Rockfin for Rockfin Premium members, but we've been posting clips today. So we'll probably respond to that on the live stream today. I just published, like right before we started this, a piece on our Substack. That's statusquo.substack.com on, based on being on the ground, my observations on why Nina Turner lost. And it's not only about the money. And Jen, boy, do we have a story. I'm going to wait because she's going to try to pop on. So I'm going to wait till she pops on to explain it. But let's just say when I left Flint, Jen did not leave Flint. And Jen was there for quite a while longer. And she is still in Michigan. I've been back for, I think, 4 or 5 days. She is still there. But I don't want to explain it for her. So she'll explain it. But boy, tough times. And just the realities you'll understand when she gets on here to explain why she was still stuck in Flint for days after Colin and I left. But I wanted to get right into it because obviously there's a lot going on. Cuomo resigned. The Delta variant of coronavirus is going through the roof. Apparently we were leaving Afghanistan, but now Biden's sending 3,000 more troops back. So there's a lot going on, but I wanted to address Nina Turner's defeat because I think it's important. I think there's been a lot of pieces out there about why she lost that are mostly true, but are missing other important things. I do have a trigger alert, though. I do have a trigger alert. So if you are one of those people ranting and raving that everyone's a sellout and everyone's a fraud and everyone's a coward, uh, you might not like what I have to say. You might not like what I have to say. So I'm just giving you a trigger warning. If you're not somebody who can handle nuance, if you're not somebody who can handle people telling you things that you don't, or not feeding you what you want to hear, you might want to exit. You might want to exit the premises, because the Substack piece that I just published, as well as what I'm going to say here, it's just the reality. It's the reality. You know, it's very easy for folks to pontificate from their studio. I respect a lot of the commentators out there, but, you know, frankly, most of those people never stepped foot in Ohio's 11th district, where Nina Turner lost. Frankly, most of these people never leave their studio. So they, you know, might be well-meaning, but a lot of their takes are not based on political reality, frankly. And fortunately for me, and thanks to you guys, we're able to travel and see what's going on the ground and see political realities. Jordan better not go full Tim Black on this. What's been going on with Tim Black? I've heard a lot. I saw one of his videos that kind of went rant. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched like 5 to 10 minutes, and he was going really, really ham on some people. But I didn't watch the whole thing, so I don't really know the whole context. He was there in Cleveland. I interviewed him, but I don't really know what that means, going the full Tim Black. I'm just going to go the full status quo Jordan on this one. Thank you, Leslie Wheeler, $10 in the super chat. Appreciate it. By the way, I want to drop in here in the super chat. That's the Substack piece that I just dropped. Free for everybody. This one I made free. Obviously, there's some pieces we publish on Substack that are just for paid Substack subscribers, but I wanted this one, everyone to be able to read it. And it's pretty long. It's pretty long, but I think it's worth a read. So, you know, this to me, and the piece that I just wrote and what I'm going to say now is not all. It actually goes well beyond Nina Turner's defeat. And I think it kind of goes into Bernie Sanders' loss in 2020 and to a certain extent 2016. I think it goes into other progressives who have lost. I don't think there's a one size fits all like reason that each person lost, but particularly with Nina Turner, I think her defeat is very similar actually to Bernie's defeat in 2020. Even though Bernie was a federal election, obviously, and Nina Turner's was a smaller district in Ohio. Again, please, if you are one of these people that doesn't want to hear anything nuanced, that just thinks everyone's a fraud and burn it all down, either leave or have an open mind. Listen to what I'm saying based on actually being on the ground, not just in Cleveland, but for 6 years. Please, just listen. So, by the way, I totally missed it. I totally buried the lead, Colin. Colin, could you come on for a second? Sorry to blow up your spot. Colin Tooley. Colin, I have an announcement to make for the audience. I think you know what it is. A couple hours ago, I joined. A couple hours ago, I was very, very honored and happy to join Michael Moore's podcast, which I think will be out. The interview will be out either tonight or tomorrow. Michael had me on to discuss our recent Flint water cover-up. It was a story. It was the second time I've been on the podcast this year. Really appreciate it. Honestly, we're going to get into this later. I don't know. Honestly, at this point, I don't know what is worse, the actual government cover-up or the media cover-up, because there is a widespread media cover-up of this. But I was on Michael Moore's podcast. Seems like he's pissed off, just like the rest of you. Seems that he might do something about this. So all is not lost. We might be able to get some traction on this story. So that's a positive. And Colin, you were on the road with us. You saw up close how the media is burying this. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it's one of those things that I was thinking about because I'll do a member video going into some of it as well. So I was thinking about it, but when you're there and seeing you, we had done that interviewing all the different Flint residents and stuff, and not only like seeing that up close, but also that I don't know how to say, juxtaposition of that, and then going and just not being able to get a hold of any of the journalists or representatives of like seeing like how these people are still suffering to this day, and it honestly just felt like no one cared. But when we were walking around talking to other residents and stuff like that, everyone knows how bad it is. Everyone knows that it needs to be fixed. But for some reason, all the people in power and both in media and politics just are ignoring it. It felt a lot more obvious how much they're ignoring it, like actually being there.
Not only are they ignoring it, it shows because when I went to interview Ariana Hawk, she is Flint mother. Her son was on the cover of Time magazine in 2016 with the body rashes all over his body, a young African American boy. She didn't know about it. She had no idea about the story we just broke. Just like the majority of Flint has no idea. How would they know? The Flint Journal won't report it. The Detroit Free Press won't report it. The local ABC, CBS, NBC won't report it. The national media won't report it. Total blackout. So how are Flint residents supposed to fight and demand accountability if they're not being informed? So we'll get to more of that later. But again, Michael Moore podcast. Think it's going out either tonight or tomorrow. Thanks, Colin. So I wanted to get back into Nina Turner. So bottom line, and I'll just go through my piece. Colin, I don't know if you have it. Let me send it to you so we could read along here. Hold on. I wrote this piece. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's pretty damn long. But I wrote this piece. Basically, the headline was Nina Turner's defeat wasn't only about the onslaught of big money smears. So that was kind of the big takeaway among most. That, to be clear, Nina did raise more money overall than her opponent, Chantel Brown. However, it seems that Nina Turner's campaign spent a lot of the money earlier on in the election. And by the end of the election, when the establishment, we're talking the media, the super PACs, when they got organized and established, boy, she was badly outspent. I mean, I couldn't turn the channel in Cleveland without seeing an attack ad on Nina Turner for basically not being, a loyal Democrat, bowl of shit, which she said Biden, voting for Biden was like a bowl of shit, first half a bowl of shit, full bowl of shit, painting her as anti-Israel because for the crime of caring about Palestinian human rights. It was endless, all over TV. It was also all around Cleveland. I mean, I saw at least 5 or 6 billboards within a 10-minute drive against Nina Turner. And this was all big money. So we can't, and yes, smash that like button, 240 people watching, 160. We can't, minimize how much of the big money had an effect. It certainly had an effect. But I also think it's a disservice to claim that was the main reason she lost, because I don't think it was. And Colin, if you can go down in the story to the tweet from independentleft.news, because I want to start there. And I didn't include independentleft.news's tweet to, criticize them because I really like Independent Left News. I think follow them on Twitter if you can. They've actually helped us, when we're live and stuff, make sure more people know when we're live, sending it out. So this isn't a gripe on them. It was just kind of the first tweet I saw that I thought we should address here. So as I wrote, any serious analysis of Turner's defeat can't ignore the onslaught of smears and coordinated attacks that the majority of voters, who in my experience covering primary elections, most of whom don't even know there is an election happening until the final week and days leading up to it, were bombarded with in the final stretch of the campaign. So we just spoke about that. But ultimately, that isn't the main reason she lost. Just take this one tweet from Independent Left News and the response from an actual voter from Ohio's 11th district. So Independent Left.News wrote, "The squad lost it, not her necessarily." As I wrote, I don't include this tweet to criticize them. They're great. I include it because this was just one of many, frankly, wrong takeaways from Turner's loss, ranging from the squad lost it for Turner. She lost because she ran as a Democrat. I want to point out, because a lot of people that were pushing this, she lost because she ran as a Democrat. I don't know if they just simply didn't do the research. I don't know if they knew this and just lied to their viewers. There was no option for Nina Turner to run as a Democrat. That wasn't an option. The Green Party has lost ballot access in Ohio. Movement for a People's Party doesn't have ballot access in Ohio, and it was a Democratic primary, so you can't run as an independent in a Democratic primary. You could say, well, she should have skipped the Democratic primary and waited till the general election and ran as an independent. First off, Ohio's rules for who can and cannot run as an independent are pretty complicated. You kind of have to prove that you haven't had an allegiance to either party for a considerable amount of time. But number two, if this still does matter to progressives in America, she would have lost if she ran as an independent in the general election. But as far as the Democratic primary, the only option was for her to run as a Democrat. Couldn't run as anything else. Not like she made the choice not to run as anything else. There was not the option to run as anything else. So we should make sure that's clear. So getting back to this, she didn't run scorched earth against the Democratic Party and Biden, thus deflating excitement and enthusiasm among progressives nationally. So all of these takes are coming from well-intentioned and understandably fed-up progressives, tired of supporting progressive candidates only to see them fold like cheap tents to the Democratic establishment once in office. I will say, contrary to what other people are saying, what Cori Bush did was not a photo op. Cori Bush is responsible for millions of people have not been evicted yet. They would have been evicted if she didn't do what she did. I think progressives hate them when they're not fighting, shame them, pressure them, but don't by default act like when they do start fighting for you, when they do start protests. By the way, during her protest, she was calling out Biden. She was calling out the Democratic Party. Jamal Bowman joined her. Ayanna Pressley joined her. Ilhan Omar joined her. AOC stopped by for a little bit. So we need to, you don't let, no, was it a permanent eviction moratorium? No, she can't wave a wand. She's not the president. She's not the House Speaker. She's not the Senate Majority Leader. She's one congressperson who camped out and got media attention. The media covered it because of what she did. The media didn't give a shit about the eviction moratorium before what she did. So don't get into this where it doesn't matter what they do. They could cure cancer. It's just a photo op. You're not. I understand why people are cynical, and I understand why people are angry and fed up. But if you're just going to get into this mentality that it doesn't matter what they do, and I'm not just saying that Cori Bush, anybody, then you're going to be living on a lonely island. That's all I could say. Also, to be fair, I've criticized the squad. I've criticized Bernie. Frankly, I called out AOC yesterday. We covered an Amazon workers press conference outside the warehouse in Staten Island. Those workers have been working to organize for months, and AOC, Congressman Mondaire Jones, had committed to coming for their press conference, which obviously would have yielded a lot more media attention. And then last minute, day before, they canceled, citing security concerns. Well, to be fair, AOC has security concerns probably everywhere she goes. Not minimizing it. I'm not saying that there aren't concerns she would have. I don't know if there was a specific threat made against her that they felt they couldn't risk her going to this. With that said, you canceled the day before as these organizers were promoting that you're going to be there. And B, okay, you canceled, but you couldn't even send out a tweet promoting it. So that's where, you lose me. So that was messed up in my view. Frankly, I was there. Maybe there was 50 people. It was under a tent. I don't really know what could have been the grave security concern, but moving on. So, as I pointed out, back to the peace column. But to be direct, even though I think a lot of these people saying these things that, the squad lost it for her, she ran as a Democrat, she didn't run scorched earth against the Democratic Party. I don't think I think they are well-meaning, and I don't think they're stupid or anything like that. I just think they're wrong. I know they're wrong. So, as I said, to be direct, they're missing the forest for the trees. Here's one person offering the reality of the voters in Ohio's 11th district. So, this person responded to Independent Left News. You obviously don't know Ohio 11. They loved Hillary, and they blame Bernie and Nina for making Hillary lose and Trump win. That's how the PAC, Super PAC, helped Brown win. They got white Karens upset about Nina hating on Hillary and Biden. Those white Karens showed up to stop Nina. Black vote was MIA. To be clear, 17% of voters turned out. Very, very low voter turnout. Nina did win the majority of working class Black districts. So that is an improvement over Bernie. Nina did win the majority of Black districts, working class Black districts. She won the city of Cleveland. She won the city of Akron, but she got hammered in the white suburbs, the white suburbs. Another person who's a voter in the district wrote, "This thread is 100% correct," referring to my thread. "I'm a Black woman born and raised in Ohio's 11th district, East Side suburb, and I saw everything Jordan just pointed out. Needed a stronger ground game very early on. She lost by 4,000 votes. There were 13 Dems running. Also, some Repubs may have voted for Brown. Some Republicans did. And we'll get to the ground game in a little bit. So I want to get in more to this district because I think a lot of the people who were, she ran as a Democrat, or, she didn't run scorched earth, or she didn't go to the Medicare for All rally. I don't think they actually took the time to even bother looking at, like, what is this area? Who votes? Who do they vote for? So here is Ohio's 11th district. Okay. In 2016, Trump won the state of Ohio by 8 points, but Hillary Clinton won Cuyahoga County, that's Cleveland, by 35 points, and Summit County, which is Akron, by 8 points. Okay, there's the handy dandy map there. So what you have here is, oh, I got to paste the other ones in there. Sorry about that. I'll fix that after. Fast forward to 2020. President Trump again won Ohio by 8 points, but Biden won Cuyahoga County, Cleveland, by 34 points, and Summit County, Akron, by 10 points. So the bottom line is 2016 and 2020's margins were essentially the same, with Ohio's 11th district, Cleveland and Akron, going overwhelmingly to Democrats, and clearly corporate establishment Democrats. Okay, but Jordan, you might say, of course, this blue district would go overwhelmingly to the Democratic general election candidate. Well, I give you the 2020 Ohio 11 Democratic primary and general election in 2020, not Nina Turner's race. Here is then Congresswoman Marcia Fudge. Do you see that? In the general election, that would be 60 points she won by. In her primary, for some reason, these didn't paste. In the primary, she won by over 90% of the vote in the primary. Marcia Fudge, interestingly enough, who was the congresswoman in this majority Black, vote blue no matter who district, she actually supported Medicare for All and kind of, sort of, half-heartedly supported the Green New Deal. So why did she support them? Here's where we get to the truth here. Because there's a basic truth that a large swath of progressives across this country do not want to hear, and they don't want to accept. And I'm sure I'll be called a sellout and a fraud. I don't really give a shit. Voters, even in more moderate to conservative Democrat areas, agree with us on policy, but they don't hate the Democratic Party or believe that it's inherently corrupt. Once again, here's the truth from someone who knows the area. Same quote. You don't know Ohio 11. They loved Hillary and they blame Bernie and Nina for making Hillary lose and Trump win. So now that we've established this is an area that historically has supported establishment Democrats and has no interest in burning down the Democratic Party, at the end of the day, we as progressives, we're at a crossroads and it's time to choose. Do hardcore progressives across the country, especially ones who live online, that's not a bad thing. I love everybody who watches us and, other progressives. Do they want to continue to try and will voters who have been successfully conditioned over decades? I bolded it, decades, via a steady diet of corporate media and Democratic Party propaganda to think in terms of Team Blue versus Team Red. Do we want to continue trying to will them over to our side that demands revolutionary change and burning down the two-party duopoly? Or gasp, swallow hard, meet them where they are, and attempt to strategically persuade them on why candidates like Turner can improve their lives without going as far as burning down the Democratic Party? To be clear, because I know, people will say, oh, you're propping up the Democratic Party, oh, this, that, and the other thing. To be clear, this doesn't mean progressives need to dem enter, dem exit, or whatever variation comes about. This isn't about being a proud Democrat or even a Democrat. It also doesn't mean progressives need to abandon organizing and building a third party. People have gotten to this point, frankly. You can come back to me, Colin. People have gotten to this point where there is no gray area. People have gotten to this point where nuance means you're a sellout. People have gotten to this point where they're so fixated on there's a D next to this person's name that they don't even care who the person is, because yes, they have been, it's like an abused marriage. You're beating down, but you keep submitting before you finally decide to leave. The problem is right now, keyword right now. And I'm sorry, Nick Brana and MPP and the Green Party, it's nothing personal. I'm not saying we'll keep covering you. I'm not saying don't try and build a third party, but there's just realities. And I'm not going to lie to you or be a cheerleader for the Green Party or MPP, certainly not the Democratic Party. Right now, you can't win as MPP. You can't win as Green Party. You cannot win as independent. You want to know how I know? Go ask Tim Canova how that worked out for him in Florida. Okay? Ran as a Democrat in 2016, not because he loves the Democratic Party, but because it was an older establishment district in South Florida when he tried to beat Debbie Wasserman Schultz. They illegally destroyed the paper ballots. So frankly, I don't even know if he really lost by 14 points. Probably didn't lose by that much. I won't go as far to say he won, but we don't know. We don't have the backups. But 14 points for a first-time candidate. Paula Jean Swearengin against Joe Manchin in 2018 lost by a lot more than that. Cori Bush lost by a lot more than that her first time. So Tim Canova did not lose by 30 points. He lost by 14 points, and frankly, it probably was a smaller margin than that, but we don't know. In 2018, he decided to run as an independent in the same district, and he got 5% of the vote. Frankly, Tim, to me, has gone a little off the deep end. In 2016, he had a valid case. They illegally destroyed the paper ballots. Nothing was done about it. 2018, he claimed there was election fraud, this and that. I looked into it. There was no evidence of that. So he ran as an independent in a heavily Democratic district, and he got 5%. So bottom line, this doesn't mean don't have Nick Brana on or don't cover the MPP party or cover the Green Party or whatever. But we have to get out of this. It has to be all this or all that, or, this is a zero-sum game. I know that's what works online. I know that's what gets people clicks and the outrage and the clickbait and like sellouts, frauds, cowards, hashtag fraud squad, all this. It does not work to actually seize power. And I don't give a fuck if you don't like me saying that. And I don't give a shit if you want to call me a fraud or a sheepdog for the Democratic Party. By the way, I'm an independent. I'm telling you the truth based on 6-7 years of reporting on the ground, based on covering local elections, federal elections. I truly wish it was so right now that Nina could have run as a third party and won. I really do. I wish, frankly, Bernie in 2016, when he got screwed, I wish he would have ran as a Green Party candidate in the election, in the general election. I don't know if he would have won. I really don't. But I don't think he would have lost by a major, major landslide. But it's a lot harder on the local level. And by the way, it's not only because it's an uphill climb against the establishment. They screw you on ballot access. The governors and heads of the election boards of these states and cities. The media will black you out if you're a third party. Frankly, they'll black you out if you're a progressive running in the Democratic Party. But at the end of the day, you could look at what I'm saying and say, oh, Jordan, he's a sellout. He's a fraud. He wants to keep the Democratic Party going. Bottom line, you could say that, and that's fine. My interest is on the policies. My interest is on what is the fastest, best way to get Medicare for all? What is the fastest, best way to save this planet? What is the fastest way for a jobs guarantee? And I don't give a damn if Nina Turner ran as a Democrat. I don't care if she ran as a MPP, a marshmallow. It doesn't matter to me. What matters is how could she have won? And that's what should matter to you. And I'm not even going to bother talking to the people that were trying to basically preemptively tell people they shouldn't support Nina Turner. Because to me, those people are not left at all. Sorry. I just don't agree with you. Nina Turner was not the squad. Your hatred toward the squad, it's irrational and illogical to project your hatred for the squad onto Nina Turner, who, by the way, did have a track record of fighting. It's just, unfortunately, YouTube hosts and a lot of viewers have selective amnesia. Nina Turner had a track record. Nina Turner was running television ads in this Democratic Party district on Medicare for All. She was speaking about Medicare for All at every event. Should she have tweeted out support for the rally, the Medicare rally? I agree. She should have. At the end of the day, was that a reason to cancel her and not support her? I don't think so. So at the end of the day, people need to decide, is it more important for us, and I'm going to use the word pure. I am going to use the word pure. Is it more important to have fidelity to hating the Democratic Party, burning it all down, or is it more important to win? Because I'll tell you what, I got no love for the Democratic Party other than Henry Wallace, who long time ago, this country could be a lot different if Henry Wallace would have remained FDR's vice president and would have became president when FDR died. I got love for FDR, things like that. But at the end of the day, you can't focus. You cannot continue trying to exert your revolutionary thinking and your yearning to burn down the system. You cannot force older voters, older Black voters, wealthy suburban voters. We can't will them to come over to our way of thinking. And they, suburban voters, older Black voters, older voters, period, they're the ones that come out in every election. So the choice is, do we continue on essentially trying to will them to coming over to our way of thinking, or do we meet them where they are? And by the way, we haven't even gotten into, and I'm going to get into this later, this is just one piece of the puzzle. because electoral politics alone is not going to get us Medicare for all. Okay. Whether it's running as a Democrat, MPP, Green Party, whatever, all this bucket over here that I'm talking about, that's not going to get us Medicare for all. It's not going to get us a Green New Deal. It's not going to get us a jobs guarantee, banning fracking. The list goes on. I've been saying for months, and I know Jimmy's been saying for a long time too, we need economic boycotts, hopefully a general strike. That is the fastest way outside electoral politics. But that doesn't mean let's just forget electoral politics. Again, nuance, folks. I think in this new progressive media age where there's a lot more channels, there's a lot more new channels and new voices and new hosts, a lot of whom I think are grifters, frankly. I'm just going to keep it real. Nuance has become like really a bad thing. And if you show any nuance, you are a sellout and a fraud and a coward and all this. And to me, frankly, this is just bullshit. You shouldn't think all one thing or all the other, all one thing or all this thing. You shouldn't cancel every single person, politician, YouTube host, whatever, the mailman who doesn't always do what you want them to do, or doesn't always support what you think they should support, or doesn't always exert the strategy you want them to exert. Because if you do this, you will have no allies. Martin Luther King, and I'm saying this as a white man, so trust me, I'm not speaking for black people. Martin Luther King did not get the voting rights bill by villainizing Lyndon B. Johnson, by, ranting and raving that he's a fraud and a white supremacist and this, that, and the other thing. Martin Luther King created a coalition of black people, of working. He even at times joined forces with working class white people, some of whom had some things in their closet that reeked of white supremacy. He got into the streets, put their bodies on the line. They didn't kill Martin Luther King when he was asking for civil rights. They killed him when he started talking about poverty, when he started talking about the evils of capitalism, when he started talking about socialism. That's when he got killed. But if Martin Luther King would have been going around calling everybody a sellout, fraud, and I don't fucking care if you think this is tone policing. Take a hike if you think it's tone policing. This is about winning. Winning, not getting YouTube views, not getting clicks. I see some channels like out there bragging because this one, they're getting so much more views than anybody else. If you're in this line of work to get views, then if you're a progressive who wants change and the first thing on your mind is how many views you're getting, I would reassess why you're in this. Of course, everybody wants to be watched. Trust me, if we were only about views, we would not be covering Flint for 6 years. We would not be covering Amazon workers striking. It does not click. It does not work in YouTube's algorithm. We're not just about views. So I think people need to get out of this. And by the way, I want to point something out important because I said this in the piece. And Colin, if you could find this piece, you could find this part. Hold on. Okay. You can find this part, Colin. With this said, I want to put out an important disclaimer to the folks whose anger, frustration, cynicism, and downright hopelessness hopelessness has deepened since repeated Bernie Sanders losses. Politicians like Sanders, AOC, the rest of the squad running on fighting the corporate establishment, only to end up doing magazine covers with Mama Bear Pelosi and refusing to leverage votes or play hardball. I should say at this moment, at least rhetorically, they are playing hardball. AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Cori Bush, Mondeir Jones, Pramila Jayapal, and Ro Khanna have said they will not vote for the bipartisan infrastructure bill without the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill. This is what people wanted. This is what people were demanding they do. No, it's not on Medicare for all, but it is saying we're not voting and we will kill this bill if we don't get this. And some people are saying, I'll believe it when I see it. Fine, that's fine. But don't, take small victories. They're doing what you want. So, as I said, you're right to be angry. You're right to be frustrated. You're right to be cynical. And although I try not to fall into hopelessness, and trust me, it's very hard not to fall into hopelessness when you travel the country and see everywhere you go, people being screwed, exploited, poisoned, and the living victims of the United Corporations of America. Trust me, I feel just as angry as you. I'm just as frustrated, and I'm certainly just as cynical. Many of you are the ones working multiple jobs, lacking healthcare, or having healthcare you can't afford, being priced out of your communities you love and were raised in due to gentrification, which is, i.e., economic terrorism. I got to add that. And watching the inferno continuing to blaze all around you as the planet rapidly dies due to the fossil fuckers and the politicians they bought. I know your anger, pain, and desperation because I've been traveling and reporting for 6 years. I've spoken with you. I've interviewed you. I've sat with you as you've cried. I kept in contact with many of you as your situation grew more dire. I say all this to spell out clearly, I share your anger. I share your frustration, and I share your cynicism. I was on Cobra, by the way, for 18 months. When I got fired from the Young Turks, I was on Cobra for 18 months. I had 2 back surgeries. I got a bill for my second back surgery, even though I was technically insured for $5,000. I did not have the money, and I still haven't paid the whole thing. Okay? Cobra was $650 a month. That was before the copays, the deductible, the copay, co-insurance, and all the other bullshit fees. Okay? I dipped into the very little I had left in my savings, and I'm very lucky that my parents split it with me, which most people don't have. Okay? So I get it on healthcare and many other things. But I choose to weaponize my anger and cynicism in a different way. Not because I'm better than you, but because I think it's more productive towards the goal of progressives seizing power, winning, and ultimately passing policies like Medicare for all, a jobs guarantee, a Green New Deal, and more. I hope you read the following with an open mind rather than the default and reflexive sellout and fraud. So here's the first reason, in my view, and based on my observation, Nina Turner lost. Progressives keep trying to will older and moderate suburban voters over to their political ideology rather than meeting them where they are. This is not just in Nina Turner's race. This was in Bernie's race and many other races. First, it should be stated, Nina won the majority of Black working class districts, including the neighborhood Shontel Brown lived in. This is from Jacobin. On the whole, Turner won 5 of Cleveland's 9 Black majority wards and lost 4. The ones she lost, all of them narrowly, less than 2 points. She lost. She won the city of Cleveland, as well as the majority city of Akron. In Ohio, 11, the key difference came in the more affluent suburbs. In wealthy communities like Pepper Pike, 84% white with a median income of $190,000 a year, Brown beat Turner by over 50 points. There are simply far fewer of these kind of communities in Cori Bush's Missouri district. They mentioned Cori Bush because part of the piece was comparing Cori's first loss, when she lost the first race, to Nina's loss. Yes, Brown also did well in Black working class suburbs near her home base of Warrensville Heights, which she has represented as a city and county council member for over a decade. But by far, the heaviest blow against Turner came in the richer burbs. In just 6 suburban towns, Pepper Pike, Beechwood, Orange, Broadview Heights, University Heights, Shaker Heights, Brown netted 4,390 votes over Turner, more than her total margin of victory. So this is a big victory for progressives who, let's face it, lost most of these areas in Bernie Sanders' 2 presidential campaigns, talking about black working class districts. So the fact that Nina won those, I know people don't want small moral victories here, but that's a victory because progressives have not done as well in working class black districts because a lot of those black people, mostly older black people, come out and vote for Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden or fill in the blank. So similar to Bernie 2020 and Biden cleaning up in the wealthier suburbs, Brown demolished Turner in the wealthy white suburbs. Make no mistake, the tsunami of big money super PAC ads across local Cleveland and Akron television and on big billboards throughout Cleveland led to significant voter turnout from those wealthy burbs to vote against Turner and drastically turned the tide in Chantel Brown's favor in the final weeks before the election. And right here, although Turner outspent Brown overall, 6.9 million to 5.3 million, Turner's campaign made the flawed decision to spend a lot of that money early on in the spring and early summer. This led Turner to be badly outspent in the final weeks before election, as the Democratic majority from Israel, Super PAC, as well as the Wall Street Front Group, Third Way, carpet bomb TV with negative ads against Turner, with the predictable attacks of her not being a dutiful servant to the corporate Democratic Party for her bowl of shit comments about voting for Biden in the general election, distorting her support for Palestinian human rights as being anti-Israel, and even going so slimily far, I don't even know if slimily is a word, but I used it, as to lie that Turner didn't actually support universal health care or raising the minimum wage. So, Colin, if you could move down. Hold on. So I left off here in the story. To be clear, this doesn't mean progressives need to dem enter, dem exit, or whatever other variation comes about. It also doesn't mean progressives need to abandon organizing and building a third party. But the cold, hard reality, and I'm sorry to tell you this, a vibrant third party with ballot access across the country and a strategy to break through permanent media blackouts is a long-term play. It is. Anyone telling you differently is either a good-hearted person who's just naive or wrong, or they're just misleading you. I don't know how else to say it. It's not a short-term play. So today, the choice is simple. Forget the letter next to the candidate, even though the Democratic Party is corrupt. No one's arguing they're not. Nobody's arguing get a DNC bumper sticker for your car. In fact, I would really doubt you as a human if you did so. But put aside the letter and focus on the actual track record and values of the individual running, or preemptively cancel them because they're running as a Democrat. Despite in Nina Turner's case, she didn't have the option, like I said, to run as anything other than a Democrat. And by the way, this preemptive cancellation of Turner happened in bulk by many popular YouTube hosts, and as a result, their viewers, simply because she was running as a Democrat, which again was her only option. They didn't care what her track record was. They didn't care that she just went across the country for 5 years trying to elect Bernie Sanders. They didn't care that she raised hell at the DNC in 2016 against the establishment. They didn't care that she abandoned Hillary Clinton's campaign and moved over to Bernie's campaign when Bernie's campaign was not a revolution. It was not organized and really on the fly. She took a risk. Or preemptively canceling these candidates because the squad has let you down. So progressives are preemptively projecting their anger and frustration against the squad onto candidates like Nina Turner, who have a track record of fighting. Again, why would you say, well, these politicians over here, they're not doing what they promise, so that means every politician running will never do what they promise? That's just not logical. And I get it's coming from a valid place of anger and frustration, but it's not logical. And you're literally sabotaging yourself by thinking that way. There were people who preemptively canceled her, and I saw this after my interview with her, because she didn't rant and rave against Biden or the Democratic Party in a district where the voters Turner needed to convince support Biden and the Democratic Party. This is a very important point. Colin, come back to me. You do stop trying to run a national campaign in a local vote blue, no matter who district. Stop trying to run a national campaign and push for a revolution in a district where the voters, they don't want a revolution. They're scared of a revolution. They've been fed a lot of propaganda and bullshit about revolution. You're not going to reorient people, especially older voters, who are generationally inclined to not think this way. Even if you were running a national campaign like Bernie just did. Sure, you could be a little bit more hostile towards the Democratic Party, but at the end of the day, I said before, right when Bernie announced he was running for a second time, people who watch Status Quo might remember this. I said he's not going to win if he doesn't pluck 7 to 10% of normie Democrats, Hillary Clinton voters from 2016, over to his side. 7 to 10% he needed, and he didn't get it. Why? Because he never tweaked his message. That's not the same thing as tweaking your policies, but he never tweaked his message to become more palatable or less threatening to older voters who have been conditioned to not think big things can happen, who have been conditioned to, especially older black voters and black voters in the period, they haven't had the luxury to expect big things for 400 years. They've had to basically vote out of survival. Who is going to harm them less? Who's going to give them something? And as a white person, you have to understand that thinking. That might not be how we think, but we haven't been murdered, kidnapped, raped, exploited, murdered for 400 years. I'm adding Jen into this stream. We'll get back to Nina Turner, but we only have a few minutes with Jen. Jen, where the hell are you? Why are you still there?
I'm still in Michigan, guys. I don't know how much Jordan told you, but
I didn't tell them anything.
Oh, okay. So as you guys know, we were in Flint last week, reporting, trying to expand our reporting, trying to get the word out more, interviewing sick residents again. And probably a lot of you know that I have long hauler from COVID. So on the last day, or the day before the last day that we were in Flint, I started to not feel well. And at first I thought it was long hauler, but it got to the point where I couldn't, I missed one of the interviews that Jordan was doing that I was most looking forward to because I was simply unwell. I won't get into the nitty gritty details, but I grew concerned that I had caught something on top of long hauler. So I essentially quarantined. I went the next day to an urgent care that, thank goodness, was right across from the hotel. Got a PCR test I took because I started to get concerned, even though I'm vaccinated, even though I've had it before, what the hell do I have it again? What's going on? So I got the PCR and I got a rapid test, which you can get those now at a Walgreens, a CVS. You can get quick tests. So it was negative, the one from Walgreens, but because of my symptoms, upon the advice of the doctor that I saw, she wanted me to quarantine. So that's what I did. So I've been, and we didn't, it's not that I wanted to hide it, but I wanted to not freak people out. Oh my gosh, Jen was just in Flint with these immunocompromised people. I want to be clear that in no way I had tested negative beforehand. Everything was good to go. We were masking everything. So I'd taken all the precautions. But I didn't want to put out like, oh, hey, I'm quarantining. Wonder if I have COVID. But it turns out now that I have the PCR back, which is the most reliable test, I had 2 rapids. And so finally, again, upon the advice of the doctor, I quarantined. I was let out of quarantine yesterday at 6 p.m. So I am now in Detroit. I was still like 20 minutes outside of Flint, so I had an amazing drive with this great Lyft driver. We spoke about Flint, etc., to Detroit. So I'm in Detroit now, and because I've had like the worst quarantine is not fun, and it's infuriating that I was 20 minutes away from Flint and I couldn't go do more because there's so much more I wanted to do there. So to be 20 minutes outside of Flint and to literally be locked in a hotel room was just so awful. Not for myself, because I did feel very sick. I wasn't well, but it was like, I'm here, I'm away from my kids. I literally missed, because of this, my oldest son's birthday, which I cried the whole day. I was asked Jordan, I was extremely depressed and sad. But I knew that I could not break and travel. I could not risk others getting into an airplane. I could not risk anything, because this, especially the Delta variant, is extraordinarily contagious and awful. So even though it sucked, I stayed in that room. But yeah, I was released because my PCR came back finally as negative. I had taken an additional rapid, but now, because of my travails, I decided, hey, I'm flying out tomorrow back home, but I'm in Detroit right now. Guess who else is in Detroit right now? Dave Chappelle. So I decided, hey, I've been stuck in this hell. I've not been feeling well. I for sure don't have COVID. I was literally, in order to get to the Dave Chappelle show, you have to get tested right before. So I just got tested a 4th time this week. I do not have COVID. So I'm looking forward to this. So that is kind of the background. I think more importantly, Jordan, is that I revisited some offices that you visited last week. If I don't know if you mentioned that at the top, that you had visited, but I can't.
You there?
You good? Yeah. So I went back to the. Well, there are apparently a couple of locations for the Detroit News. I went to one at first that has the Detroit News's name all over the building, but according to she seemed like an extraordinarily nice security guard. According to her, she's never heard of the Detroit News, does not know what it is.
Even though Detroit News was on the building.
Say that again?
Even though Detroit News was on the building.
Yeah, Detroit News is on both sides of the building. I have pictures of it. And so I'm talking to her. I do have this on film. I'm talking to her and I'm like, I'm here to drop this off at the Detroit News, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, long story short, she's like, I don't know what that is. I'm like, well, it's on the building. Like, it says the Detroit News on either side of the building. No, she'd never heard of it. So that was pretty odd. And then Jordan sent me the location that he went to last week. And so I went there, where for some weird reason, the Free Press and the Detroit News share the same building. I don't get why. I guess it's better than the Flint Journal sharing the Rowe Engineering building in Flint, which is, a very long story, but is an engineering firm that was hired potentially with some iffiness, let's say, that led to some of the decisions that led to the Flint water crisis. So for a news organization to be in that building, pretty odd. And then for 2 supposedly separate news orgs to be for Detroit, for Michigan, to be in the same building, I find pretty strange too. So I went in there not too long ago, maybe an hour and a half ago. And Jordan, the day he went, they said they were closed. I was able to actually get in. There was most of the doors were locked, but the swinging doors were open. So I went in there, spoke to that security guard. She said, oh, I think I have to call like the building owner Like, okay, why? All right. Or the property manager, whatever she said, that again is on video. But I tried to explain why I was there, what we do, what the story is. And I explained, I said, we've spoken to an editor from the Detroit News. So here's additional information that I think he will want. So I couched it that way. And she couldn't get an answer from the property manager. So she had me just leave the reporting there, which again, so what I was dropping off for those who aren't familiar is the summary of our latest Flint water crisis investigation, the AP press release, that speaks of the House Oversight Committee now investigating based on our findings, and then the story itself. Also, along with printouts of tweets from Mark Ruffalo, Rashida Tlaib, Susan Sarandon, Aaron Brockovich, Rokana, and just kind of, it was all ready to go. But for some reason, we can't seem to get it to these editors. So that's what I've been doing so far here in Detroit.
Well, you'll talk about it more when you're back officially, but I will say, number one, we are going to show some of the video today of our adventures at the Flint Journal and Detroit Free Press. And secondly, I'm just keeping it real. Obviously health is more important than anything else. So Jen had to stay back after Colin and I left, I think for like 5 or 6 days now. So,
I don't even remember what day you guys left, but it's been a while.
Saturday we left. So we're talking, almost a week. Obviously that's expensive. She wasn't there playing blackjack. She thought she had COVID again. Frankly, I don't want to speak for you, but you were very sick to the point of possibly going to the hospital.
I've gotten to the point where with my long hauler symptoms, I can kind of go through it and push it to the point where most people don't know until I have to collapse later, which is why Jordan see me like when we go back to our hotel or whatever. Like one time I was at his house, it's like once the end of the day hits, it's like I can't keep up the facade anymore. I'm collapsing and I'm really sick. So that happened, but it was worse here. And I thought I'd have to go to the hospital. I was really pretty concerned. So it really sucks that I had to stay. And to reiterate, it was very expensive, but there's nothing that we could do that I could do. There was no way, nothing else to be done except for me to quarantine and stay literally where I was in that hotel room. And I didn't leave except for very, very masked to go get my COVID test for the PCR. So it was not fun. It was not a good time.
So go enjoy Chappelle. I'm going to go back to ranting. And if people could chip in, because, obviously having to stay at a hotel for 5-6 more nights just to make sure she didn't have COVID cost us a lot of money. If you could chip in, there's the GoFundMe in the super chat. We'll probably send out an email tomorrow, maybe explaining more about what happened with Jen. But please, if you could chip in, these are the kind of things that happen, during a pandemic. I got tested too. I was negative because obviously I was around Jen a lot. So enjoy it. And Jen and I will be back next week together.
Yeah. So to very much emphasize, Dave Chappelle is something I'm paying for, just like a fun treat for myself, because I don't want to get anyone to get confused about that. I'm paying for it. It's my thing.
Tell him I'm pissed off that he supported Pete Buttigieg.
I know. It's okay. Dave, if he sat down with us and we could chat with him, I think he'd change his mind.
Hand him the Flint story packet.
Well, we only are allowed to have clear bags, but we need to get it to him for sure, because I think he would care. I think he's someone who he does rail against the establishment. He's turned down millions of dollars because people are trying to force him to do things that he didn't think were right. I mean, I'm not here to sell you on Chappelle, but he's pretty great, guys. So I'm here again. If you're at all able to support our Flint reporting, please do so. Please, if you're able to help defray the cost of the unfortunate kind of consequence of reporting during a pandemic. It's GoFundMe.com/status coup, or we still have our statuscoup.com/Neeley Turner page up if you prefer that method of support. That page simply has other ways of fundraising. It's on the Nina Turner page, which doesn't have anything to do with her at all. And also paypal.me/statuscoup. So it all helps. And we are so dedicated to this reporting. And that's something that I want everyone to understand is like, we know that this is risky. We know that it's a huge risk to be out here reporting in the field during a pandemic. And Delta is no joke. Delta's extraordinarily scary. It's terrifying. I am so concerned that we are back to square one. But it's something that I've taken the risk on because I ended up with long hauler COVID from reporting, from holding Rudy Giuliani to account. I don't regret it, even though COVID ruined my life by giving me long hauler. But that is how dedicated we at Status Coup are to journalism, and we appreciate all of your support. Statuscoup.com/Nina Turner. Again, that's simply a fundraising page, or GoFundMe.com/Status Coup. We are moving. I think potentially we're going to get to go in, so I'm going to hop off, but I love you all. If it is on your heart, if it is in your finances, we do need help from my unfortunate extended stay, etc. And to keep going. We have to keep going. We have to keep pushing, keep reporting. So love you all, and stay around for Jordan, but I will be back next week.
Enjoy yourself.
Bye-bye.
By the way, folks, I will be reading the super chats at the end, but I want to finish this Nina Turner thing up so then I can move on to Flint. So bottom line, I don't know where we left off. Nina Turner, and in my view, progressives beyond Nina Turner, aren't just losing because of money. Of course, attack ads matter. Nina Turner lost in large part because progressives have not figured out how to convince older voters to vote for us, or haven't even been willing to try, because the mentality has been, fuck them. We'll just try and get, people who don't vote to come out. Well, I'm not against trying to get people who didn't vote to turn out. I'm not saying don't do it. Bernie Sanders 2020 had some success in terms of getting people who don't vote to come out. But the reality is you got a much better chance of getting people who do come out to vote for you if you can reach them. And, I saw one person just said, let me try and find it here. And again, I'll read your super chats at the end. Somebody basically said, how many years are we going to listen to progressives, I guess putting me as a progressive, tell us to vote for the Democratic Party? A few things. Number one, I'm not telling you to vote for the Democratic Party. I'm telling you to look at the candidate, to not focus on the Democratic Party. Secondly, who do you want to vote for then? The Green Party, who's going to lose? MPP, who doesn't have ballot access? Tell me. I don't have 40 years to wait for the third party movement to become vibrant. And you don't have 40 years. We don't have a decade. So that's not an endorsement of the Democratic Party. But Nina Turner was running as Nina Turner. She couldn't run as anything else. So the Republican Party is corrupt. The Democratic Party is corrupt. I got news for you. There's a lot of corruption in the Green Party at the top. There's a lot of corruption in unions at the top. There's a lot of corruption everywhere. Okay? But at the end of the day, how do you want to spend your time thinking we could rant and rave and somehow knock on the door of older voters and convince them it's time for a revolution? Convince older black voters it's time for a revolution. Older black voters who, again, have not had that luxury. They don't have that luxury. They've had to vote out of survival. And they have voted because to them, the Republicans are worse than the Democrats. Even if the Democrats are still screwing them, it's about who's going to screw you more for a whole race of people that have been exploited and beyond screwed. So you could fixate on the Democratic Party. And frankly, listen, I know there's a lot of YouTubers. Their only concern is no Democratic Party. Okay, but what is the alternative? You can't honestly sit here and say MPP or Green Party or this and that. That is not an immediate plan. We've already talked about that we need outside of electoral politics strategies. So here's an example. Number one, just to put something to bed, Nina Turner's campaign manager was not Jeff Weaver. I don't know how that started. He might have consulted for the campaign. He wasn't running the campaign. I know that for a fact because I know who was running the campaign. Jeff Weaver did not have a big role in Nina Turner's campaign. So people who keep pushing that is not true. Nina Turner did hire consultants. I think that was a bad idea. I think people should stop hiring these consultants who don't seem to ever win. But Jeff Weaver was not running the campaign. Secondly, Nina Turner's campaign did not have a vibrant ground game. They had a whole lot of people that came in the final week or two from all around the country to knock on doors. Before that, they had some type of operation. But as I said in my Substack piece, the only way that a progressive is going to win, and this is really how AOC won in 2018. First off, AOC had the benefit of she didn't have over $3 million in attack ads against her. Frankly, the establishment took it for granted and slept on her. They did not think she was going to win. They did not think she was a threat, so they didn't bother. But AOC and her team, they knocked on every single door in that district in the Bronx and Queens. Secondly, they did not knock on those doors of a lot of black voters, a lot of Latino voters, a lot of older voters, ranting about the Democratic Party for areas that vote overwhelmingly for the Democratic Party, who don't hate the Democratic Party, who don't think the Democratic Party is corrupt. They didn't spend their time trying to explain to them and convince them why the two-party duopoly needs to end. And we got to, burn Congress on fire, figuratively, not literally, YouTube, just to be clear. They talked about the issues on the local level. They talked about how AOC's policies, and trust me, I've been criticizing her for a while, but back then, they talked about why Medicare for All would help them now, would help their wallets now, why a Green New Deal would help them now. So let's move that over to the wealthy white suburban voters who came out for Shontel Brown against Nina Turner. On one end, they were fed heavily attack ads smearing Nina Turner. Okay? But what if Nina Turner's campaign or any progressive campaign, what if they had a strong ground game 6 to 7 months before Election Day? Because all progressive campaigns at this point, with high-level candidates that the establishment looks as a threat, you can't run without immediately knowing in the last month or so, you are going to be hit with a tsunami of smears and super PAC ads. It happened to Nina Turner. It happened to Bernie Sanders. And it happens to a lot of Paula Jean Swearengin. So it's not an excuse anymore about the super PAC ads. You got to expect it. So how do you counteract it? You need to make connections with voters, not just in the black areas, but even in the white suburbs. So you might say, Jordan, well, it doesn't matter what you say to those people. They're greedy. They're selfish. They don't want to pay taxes. They don't want to. That's not every upper middle class white person. I can tell you because I've interviewed them. You have to meet them where they are. So what if Nina Turner's campaign was knocking on doors in those wealthy white suburbs 6-7 months ago, which I know they were not? What if they were pointing out, America ranks kind of near the bottom. This article actually just came out after Nina lost. America ranks dead last in terms of healthcare. We spend more money for worse results than any other country. Why not speaking to them about that? Why not speaking to them about the data and what's visibly happening, that your suburb, your kids, your grandkids, they're not going to have a planet in 20, 30 years. Dick Long, $5. Jordan, stick to the on-ground reporting. That's your strength. Your political analysis has always been wrong. Okay. You don't have to like it, but my political analysis is based on the on-the-ground reporting. Most of these idiots on YouTube offering analysis have no fucking idea what they're talking about. They never leave their studio, and they assert that they know what's going on when they have no idea. So, not that that means I'm all-knowing, but I think it's pretty helpful to actually have experience speaking with people, being on the ground, reporting on corruption, reporting on injustice, reporting on environmental genocide, to actually then have an idea what's going on to provide analysis. What about talking to those people saying, you know, back in the day, you who's doing okay out here, you actually did better when the people 20 minutes down the road were doing better. Educating them about how evening the playing field, closing the income gap actually has helped traditionally wealthier people. Talking to them about, you know, frankly, you know, not sitting there ranting and raving against the Democratic Party, but, you know, we've been doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. We've been electing the same old party, you know, loyal Democrats or loyal Republicans who get in there and tell us why we can't have better things. Doesn't mean they're evil people. Nina Turner's people didn't need to demonize Chantel Brown to these other people. What about pointing out, you know, there's all these ads that are out there calling Nina Turner divisive. Do you know that when she was a city council member, she actually worked with Republicans? She worked with Democrats that were a little bit more moderate than her to get X, Y, and Z done. She did. Did you know that as an Ohio state senator, she was known as a deal maker? She was. That might piss off progressives, but that's the reality, and that's how you get to these voters. Bernie Sanders' campaign, for example. If only they would have went to older voters' houses and said, did you know Bernie Sanders worked with John McCain to get X done? John McCain is the biggest warmonger villain out there. But old people liked him because they were fed a bunch of bullshit about him. Did you know that Bernie was the amendment king? He actually got more amendments passed into legislation than anyone else. Do you know that Bernie Sanders actually worked with Republicans to try and stop America's role in Yemen? Did you know that Bernie Sanders actually defeated a Republican in Vermont, which at the time was fairly Republican? Did you know that Bernie Sanders, in most of his campaigns, has picked up a very strong number of Republican voters? And in terms of the general election, a lot of Republicans who supported Trump said their second candidate after Trump was Bernie. Like, my point is, yes, I'm not going to mislead you. It's not going to be easy to get wealthier white people to come out and vote for, you know, a person who on policy, maybe they don't agree with every policy. But you will have a much better chance of not losing by 50 points. I'm talking in South Carolina. By the way, Bernie got crushed in South Carolina, believe it or not only because of the black vote against Joe Biden. He got crushed because there was an increase in votes from suburban voters and white voters too. So on Super Tuesday, when Bernie also got crushed, yeah, Obama got everybody to drop out, blah, blah, blah. It was suburban white voters who crushed him and voted for Biden. So the choice is yours. the sellout squad. Okay? You want to throw the baby out with the bathwater? You want to say, fuck it. We're not going to bother trying to convince these voters. We're not going to bother trying to get Nina Turner elected if she's running as a Democrat. We're not going to bother trying to help a Nina Turner if AOC and the squad has screwed us. We're going to just sit here and rant for the next 10 years online, tell you how evil this person is and that person is and what a fraud this person is and a coward this is, while the planet burns, while nobody has healthcare anymore, while the rich get richer, but we could be pure. And I'm sorry, that's a losing strategy. It might make everybody cheer online. It might make everybody feel good, but it's not a way to Medicare for all. It's not a way to get a Green New Deal. It's not a way to get people in there that will actually fight. By the way, whoever told you Nina Turner's going to get in there and fold like a cheap tent? What the fuck are they talking about? She fought in this campaign. She went on air with vicious ads against Chantel Brown. By the way, when she made the bowl of shit comment, did you not think about Biden? Did you not think she knew that could come back and bite her if she wanted to run again? For anything. She made it anyway because she's not somebody who's just going to, get in there and preemptively surrender against the corporate Democrats. So at the end of the day, I'm sorry. You could unsubscribe. You could, call me whatever you want. I'm giving you the reality, folks. If Nina Turner's campaign had a massive ground game, I'm talking 8-9 months before Election Day, and that costs money. That costs money. If that ground game actually went to these normie Democrats in the suburbs and actually had a message that might be a little less threatening to them, that might be a little less revolutionary to them, but laser focused on local issues, laser focused on the actual policies, which frankly, a lot of these even suburban voters support. Remember, in the Democratic primary, Bernie 2020, every single state, including the ones that voted for Biden, supported Medicare for all. Every state of the voters, they supported Medicare for all, even if they voted against or for Biden. So they're not as far from us on policy. They just don't hate the Democratic Party. They don't buy that the Democratic Party is corrupt. And I even see it in the comments. Oh, people ranting about this. I'm sorry, this is the truth. They don't. I've seen it. So do you care more about your righteous anger at the Democratic Party? I'm with you. Or do you care more about getting enough voters to pull the goddamn lever for an actual progressive candidate to get them in there? I'm not saying if Nina Turner were to be elected and she gets in there and, starts giving away the farm, having no principles, not fighting, not, totally abandoning her progressive policies, that just sit by and cheer her on. No, politicians should be pressured. Politicians should be shamed. I'm all for the protests that were outside AOC's office over Medicare for all. I say, do it again. I was all for forced to vote, by the way. I said it publicly. I was for it. I think, and I said this publicly at the time, I don't think Jimmy and a lot of other people's method was constructive. People say, oh, you're tone policing. Well, I don't know. If it's just human psychology, if you're trying to pressure and convince people to do something, calling them every name in the book does not work. As I said, Martin Luther King did not get the Voting Rights Act passed because he just called Lyndon Johnson a sellout enough times. So I'll wrap it up there. Definitely check out the Substack piece. It's pretty long, but it kind of explains a lot of what I'm saying. Make no mistake about it. Big money talks. A major reason she lost was the attacks. She was up considerably in the polls, but you also have to remember it's a special election in the dead of summer. You can't rely on polling. The polling that says she was 35 points up, it probably wasn't a big sample size. And most voters in not just special primaries, that was my dad, not just special primaries, but regular congressional primaries, most voters don't even know what's happening. I could tell you because I followed volunteers knocking on doors in many cities, and the voters don't know. They don't even know there is a primary going on. When's the date? Who's running? Most of what they see is in the final couple days or weeks. That's why actually ground game organizing is so important. Not just the ground game, but the phone calls, the text messaging, the community events. It's all important. And that's why actually meeting voters where they are rather than convincing them it's time for revolution will help. I know that might not sound great coming from an outlet called Status Coup. We still need a status coup. I'm just telling you, in terms of electoral politics, you're not getting what you want trying to fit a massive square peg into a round hole. You're not convincing baby boomers, okay, and wealthy white suburbanites it's time for a revolution and burn down the Democratic Party. And if your choice is to say, fine, if we can't convince them, we're done. We'll just do ourselves. Then good luck. All right, I want to get to Flint, and I am going to read your super chats. So, Colin, if you could fast forward the video of the Flint Journal to the point that we actually went into the Flint Journal. For those that came late, I did announce earlier, I joined Michael Moore on his podcast earlier today to talk about our latest Flint water cover-up story that now, 3 weeks after we broke it, has still not been covered by the Flint Journal, not been covered by the Detroit Free Press, not been covered by the Detroit News, not been covered by the New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, et cetera, et cetera. It's been covered up by them. And that's what this is. They all know about it because I've sent it to them. I've spoken with editors. Every one of them know about this story. Everybody knows what the story was. We found that they erased their phones. Governor Snyder's top officials erased their phones right before the launch of a criminal investigation. We found that top officials had no messages on their phones for all of 2014 through October 2015. When Flint used the Flint River, we found that Snyder's environmental department officials dropped off their phones in the state IT department, i.e. wiped clean, meaning erased, shortly after Snyder held a press conference in Flint announcing Flint had toxic water. We found that Governor Snyder himself refused to hand over key documents to prosecutors for 3 years. So a whole lot of other things we found. If you haven't read the story, read the story. It is major. Aaron Brockovich said, and I quote, "This is the biggest cover-up you will ever read." If you haven't read it, I'm putting it in the super chat. So, Colin, if you could show people, Ben and I went to the Flint Journal in Flint. Here's what happened when we went to the Flint Journal. The residents of Flint that they journal for of a major government cover-up into that poison. They can't find the time to talk about this. So we're ringing the doorbell for the Flint Journal. I'm going to speak with an editor or a manager here, or reporters. We wanted to make sure they knew about an important story.
Okay, what do you got?
We broke this a few weeks ago. I'm pretty sure the Flint Journal knows about it. We broke it in the Detroit Metro Times and the Intercept on, on Governor Rick Snyder's administration. Their phones were deleted right before the launch of a criminal investigation. Health officials' phones had no messages on them.
Okay.
The governor refused to hand over key documents. I mean, to be honestly, I know you guys know about it. I don't know why you're not reporting it, but also the governor's top advisor was interfering in the investigation. Congress has responded to this story. They say they're investigating it, but the Flint Journal, interestingly enough, has not reported it. I don't know why. We also broke last year that the governor's top advisor was going around Flint offering payoffs to residents. The Flint Journal didn't report that either. I'm sure you're a good fella, but I think the Flint Journal should inform residents about these things. None of the facts have been disputed.
Rashida Tlaib, as you know, she spoke out on this. Michael Morris spoke out on this. Ro Khanna, the congressman, has spoken out about this. Erin Brockovich actually said, this is the biggest cover-up you'll ever read, but we can't get the Flint Journal to do a damn thing about it.
And yesterday, in an interview with former Mayor Weaver, she essentially called this complicity to murder for including Nessel and Snyder.
We interviewed the mayor. She said Attorney General Nessel is helping Snyder get away with murder.
What is your message to Attorney General Dana Nessel? The Attorney General says she's not directly involved with the criminal investigations.
It's under her watch.
Yeah, it's under her watch.
And justice delayed has been justice denied. She was not truthful to the people of this city. She told us that they were going to have some criminal charges. They did not just charges, but convictions. She did not want people to get away with these crimes. And we see a misdemeanor is getting away with murder. I always talk about how to get away with murder. Ask Snyder, ask Nessel. They're all helping him do it.
And I quote. So, I don't know. You guys are supposed to be
the best contact lawyer.
Yeah. So, not trying to be difficult.
No.
It's kind of stunning to me. The Flint Journal is burying this. I mean, you guys know about it, so.
Are you an editor? Is there an editor in today?
I'm one of the editors.
Okay, cool. What's your
I know
name?
you're understaffed, I've heard, but I've sent this to Ron Fonger. We've sent all these to Ron Fonger. I mean, it's just stunning to me. I don't know why the Flint Journal continues not to cover these things. So I'm hoping. Also, we have the response from Congress in here. So you have all the information, you have our numbers, so thanks. Sure.
What's your name?
Roberto.
Roberto, nice to meet you. Your last name?
All right, you get dip out of it.
Acosta. Okay, nice to meet you.
So, oh my God, I'm gonna. By the way, my chair just fell. I don't know why. Hold on. Ugh. Great. Now my chair is low. Anyway, so I want to be clear about something. This is what you just saw is not just Flint Journal. This is the fucking United States media. The United Corporations of America, that's the media. Those are the gatekeepers allowing this to remain the United Corporations of America. Let's go through the list of things that Flint's hometown paper is ignoring. And by the way, his whole, what do you got? Pretending that he didn't hear about it. They knew about it. Trust me. Trust me, they know about it. I sent it to many editors there and they knew about it. So not only is Flint's hometown paper, which most residents in Flint either actively read or see once in a blue moon, not only are they completely burying, it's not just ignoring, they're completely burying a major scandal, a cover-up of the citizens in Flint that they supposedly report on behalf of. They also have not covered it even after Congress issued a scathing statement against Governor Snyder right after our story came out. Even after the Congressional House Oversight Committee said, we're now investigating based on your story and what you found. Even after the last mayor of Flint, not the mayor from 20 years ago, the mayor from 2 years ago. Excuse me, no. 2 years ago. She, on camera, said the current Attorney General of Michigan, who charged Governor Snyder with a misdemeanor, is helping Snyder get away with murder. Any of these things on their own would be on the front page of any newspaper actually interested in corruption, actually interested in environmental genocide of the community they report in, actually interested in a criminal cover-up that led to an untold number of people dying. This isn't like, some basic journalistic disagreement where like, I don't know, some young dreamer, Cub Scout reporter that just started comes out or pitches the Rolling Stone on a story and they think it's, amazing. And Rolling Stone tells them, oh, we're going to pass. This is not that. This is ironclad, airtight. Nobody has disputed our reporting, our facts of destruction of evidence, tampering with evidence, potentially obstruction of justice, Congress responding to it, the last mayor saying the attorney general is basically in on the cover-up. And this Flint Journal, by the way, owned by Booth Newspapers, Booth Newspaper is a subsidiary of Advance Media. Advance Media, you following? Flint Journal, owned by Booth Newspapers, which is a subsidiary of Advance Publications or Advance Media. Advance Media, the 221st largest corporation in America. 221st. So not top 100. Pretty big company. This big corporation not wanting to rock the boat. Not wanting to report on the biggest government cover-up in the 21st century. Let me repeat. The biggest government cover-up in the 21st century, frankly, I would put it above Watergate. If Watergate didn't have a president involved, nobody would have blinked. It would have just been some knuckleheads at the Watergate office. Nobody died that I know of. This was a cover-up. Governor, health department, environmental department, county officials in Flint. It appears the attorney general's office in Michigan. Congress responds to it. But the Flint Journal, silence. That was Saturday, by the way. Today is Thursday. We handed them the packet. It had literally bullet points. Bullet points. Easy to digest of what we found. It had the story of Congress responding and their statement. It had the tweets on there from Rashida Tlaib, Ro Khanna, Susan Sarandon, Aaron Brockovich, actor Mark Ruffalo, Marianne Williamson. The story. 5 days later, 5 days later, 3 weeks later after the story, still can't manage to do anything. At what point do you say the Flint Journal, they're part of the criminal cover-up? Seriously. This guy comes out there. Oh, what do you got? What do you got? I'm a newsman. What do you got? Pitch me. What do you got? Sorry, I'm just fixing this. What do I got? I got a criminal government cover-up that poisoned the people that you serve, the people that you journal for. That's what I got. What do you got? God damn it. What do I got? What kind of journalist are you? And by the way, that guy, oh, I hate this IFB. That guy, he's the head of the Flint Journal. He's the top editor. Comes out, what do you got? When I go down the list of what we got, you know what he says? Does he ask any questions about it? Does he say, oh, yeah, we read this. We've been doing some follow-up reporting on it. We're working on a story about it. So, oh, is this your number? Is this the best number to reach you at? Yeah, still waiting 5 days later. The people of Flint still waiting. You know what's outrageous? You know what's outrageous? I interviewed a lot of residents there. I met with a woman, Ariana Hawk. She's a Flint mother. Her son, his name is Sincere, was, if you remember Time magazine in 2016, there was an image of a young black boy on the cover of Time magazine with body rashes from that water. That was her son. And before we started the interview, she was furious. Why was she furious? Because she was hearing for the first time from me about this cover-up that we found. She said, I don't understand. How come I didn't hear about this? Nobody I know has heard about this here. Because your media is a fucking corrupt enterprise. And it's not just the Flint Journal. It's the Detroit Free Press. It's the Detroit News. It's the New York Times, the Washington Post, Rachel Maddow, MSNBC. I have sent this to Rachel Maddow's executive producer 4 times. He got it. I was direct messaging in Twitter, the private message. I direct messaged with a New York Times editor. She said, great story here. I said, thanks. Does the New York Times plan on doing 3 paragraphs on it to alert the country? Hey, the world, because the world reads the New York Times, didn't respond. You want to talk about, they're running as a Democrat. Oh, fraud, sellouts. The reason we have the corrupt country that we have is because we have a corrupt media that literally is in bed with the corrupt corporations and the corrupt criminal enterprise that is government. There's nothing left to say. The Flint Journal, the Detroit Free Press, the New York Times, who, by the way, years ago tried to steal a story that I brought to them. Jen and I brought to them. They said, oh, no, we have reporters, so we would do it on our own, but thanks for the tip. I said, it's not a fucking tip. I want to do it with you. Then my main source in Flint calls me. Hey, I just got a call from the New York Times, a reporter asking us about, government officials going into people's homes, running people's water before testing for lead and copper. And the source told them, yeah, you should call Jordan. That's his story. They knew it was my story. And instead of doing it with me, they tried to steal it. And if they were going to steal it, trust me, if they ended up publishing it, which they didn't, it would have been severely watered down to the point where it wasn't even what actually happened. What possible, plausible, credible, rational reason could Flint's hometown paper have for not informing Flint residents? And by the way, the people who have moved out of Flint, but were there during the water crisis, of a cover-up. I mean, what do you call this? They certainly would be reporting it if it was Trump and his top officials had deleted their phones, erased their messages right before the coronavirus went national, right? Oh, they'd be reporting that. Tawan, let's fast forward now. We just took on the Flint Journal. Let's show you what happened at the Detroit Free Press. Legionnaires. I handed it to him. I also handed him evidence that there was a meeting in October. They missed rewind it a little because they missed the part. Who I talk about who the editor is, all that. The press is the biggest media outlet in the state of Michigan, and I have personal experience with the Detroit Free Press. I actually met with its investigations editor. His name is Matthew Dolan. I met with him last year. I actually drove to Michigan during a pandemic. It took me 9 hours, so I didn't have to fly. Among other things, I met with him. And I literally handed him our reporting and evidence of former Governor Rick Snyder and his top officials, his chief of staff, his health director, their rapid fire phone calls in October 2014, 2 weeks before Snyder's reelection. Prosecutors had gotten their phone logs, and it showed over 2 days in October 2014, they spoke 22 times. The governor, his chief of staff, his health director. It was a rapid fire phone tree. And the prosecutors concluded they were on the phone trying to cover up the Legionnaire's disease outbreak, the bacterial water disease that killed who knows how many people in Flint. There's no way to really truly know how many people died of Legionnaires or how many people died with the diagnosis of pneumonia, which was misdiagnosed pneumonia, but was actually Legionnaires. I handed it to him. I also handed him evidence that there was a meeting in October 2014 among the state environmental department. And that meeting, prosecutors got the notes from that meeting. And in the notes, it said governor's briefings, plural. And in that blurb, governor's briefings, was mention of the Legionnaires' outbreak in Genesee County, which Flint is in Genesee County. That was October 2014. It said governor's briefings with mention of Legionnaires. Why is that important? Because the governor testified to Congress he didn't know about the Legionnaires' disease outbreak until January 2016. That's a year and a half later. I handed it to him. Mr. Dolan said, and I quote, "We regret not doing more on Flint." So I said, great, here's your opportunity. I'm handing it to you. I even said you could throw one of your reporters' names on the story with us so they felt like they had, enough credit. He told me, well, you got some great stuff here, but it's a little circumstantial. We don't know what they were talking about in the phone calls. I said, well, first of all, we're not criminal prosecutors that need to prove something beyond a reasonable doubt. A lot of great journalism is stacks and stacks of circumstantial evidence along with sources. But here, this isn't my opinion what I'm giving you. These are documents showing the top prosecutor leading the Flint water criminal investigation. He was saying that the governor, his chief of staff, and the health director, these phone calls were them trying to cover up, his words, the Legionnaires' outbreak. They see me. Yes, there we go. I'm a journalist, and I'm here to drop off something to the Detroit Free Press. I just want to bring it up and drop it off to them. It's a major story about the Flint water crisis. I think the Detroit Free Press is a 24/7 outlet. They're not open? Okay. Yeah, I'll wait. Can you guys call and tell them I'm here? I just want to drop this off for them. Huh? I can give you. Oh, for them, you don't have their contact information? Come on. They're in the building. You don't have their contact information? I don't live here. I got a flight to catch. I'm not trying to be difficult. I literally just want to hand it back. Somebody could come up with me. Okay. Can I give you a message to give them? And hand this to you? Oh, can I give it to her? And she could give it to them? So, yeah, if you could just leave it for them. This is a major cover-up of the Flint water crisis. Okay, yeah, they're ignoring it. They're ignoring it. They know about it and they're ignoring it. So we've made it into a packet. It's the Detroit Free Press, so they should be covering it. Thank you, man. Not going to blame those fine people. Nothing wrong with them. They say the building's closed. I don't know how that's possible because it's a 24/7 outlet. Unless they aren't back in the office, I can check that, but I'm pretty sure they are. So this is a pattern where the Free Press, at least credit to the Flint Journal, they opened up and spoke with us. But how could the Detroit Free Press? They obviously called up. It's bullshit that they don't have a contact to them. It's in the building. Of course they have a contact. They have a direct line. And I'm sure an editor said, yeah, no, don't let them up. So I don't know. If Free Press is in my name, I believe I would be answerable to the people. I was not demanding to come up there to yell at them, just to hand this to them. They already know about it, but just to hand it to them. The Detroit Free Press won't cover it. They won't cover the cover-up. They won't even do any follow-up reporting on the cover-up. You know how I know? In 2020, we broke a major story on Governor Snyder's top advisor, literally going around Flint offering payoffs to sick Flint residents. So what's interesting about it at all, they wouldn't cover it then, but they did a follow-up story a year later, basically plagiarizing our story. So to be fair, the building was closed on Saturday. However, from a journalist I spoke with who lives there, said the building's closed, but there's always actual editors there. And clearly, We don't have a number to the Detroit Free Press. It's just their names on the building. Oh, we don't have a number to them. Of course you have a number. So I don't want to, I'm not attacking these security guards. It's not their fault. But clearly people were there. I believe those people probably called up and the editor said, no, keep them down there. But this is bigger than just, it's gotten to the point now. And to be clear, because some people will say, oh, this isn't a journalist. This is a charlatan. I tried diplomacy with all of these outlets. Jen tried diplomacy with all of these outlets. We tried going through the proper channels, emailing them before publishing stories, trying to get them to do the stories with us, calling them, emailing again, direct messaging on Twitter. So we did that for years. At a certain point, it's time to shame them. It's time to expose people to who they are and what they're doing. I'm not calling for anyone to be violent at all. I'm talking get up in their faces, civil disobedience, flood them with phone calls, flood them with emails. Hell, if you live in Michigan, get like 20, 30 people out there, get outside their office with a megaphone and videotape it. Video it and get it on social media and we'll push it. These outlets, why we have the United Corporations of America, I've been telling you folks for a long time. Most people in this country are not lacking compassion. Most people have no fucking idea what the hell is going on. If my dad's watching, he's going to be mad at me because I've been cursing. I get a call from my dad every week about my cursing on there. My filthy mouth, he says. Love you, Larry. But at the end of the day, why do you think it is corruption thrives? Why do you think it is corporations and plutocrats are able to buy off your elected politicians? Why do you think it is that a whole city can be poisoned and they're left to die? And who knew what when? And the cover-up stays buried. Why do you think that is? It's because the gatekeepers have locked the door, have locked the gates. That's why. It's because the Flint Journal, the Detroit Free Press, the Detroit News, local ABC in Flint, local CBS in Flint, local NBC in Flint, local Fox in Detroit. Do you know in January, after our story came out in The Intercept, the story that we got Snyder's phone calls, do you know a Fox reporter, a Detroit Fox reporter, interviewed me, and then they never aired it? I wonder why they never aired it. Did some editor at the top say, no, we don't want that out there? Fox in Detroit. Do you know? Again, I explained this in the video. I met with the investigations editor of the Detroit Free Press, Matthew Dolan. He rolled up in his very, very lovely BMW. Like a very nice BMW. And we met. It was very cold. Sat in our cars. Windows open because of the pandemic. Again, said, we regret not doing more Flint. We, Detroit Free Press, regret not doing more in Flint. Handed him what we had. He said, this is great stuff. Then he said, it's a little circumstantial. We don't know what was on the phone calls. Okay, so what? We're not prosecutors. We're not convicting beyond a reasonable doubt. We have documents from a criminal investigation with the prosecutors, not me, the prosecutors in writing saying the governor and his top officials were trying to cover up the deadly waterborne Legionnaire's disease that was spreading, cover it up, stop it from going public, stop people from knowing about it. How is that not something the Detroit Free Press would be jumping on? Front page. Are you crazy? So this is why I've said to you over and over again, I'm not saying don't protest outside BlackRock. I'm not saying don't protest outside Pelosi's office, McConnell's office, whomever. I'm not saying don't Sunrise Movement, don't protest, don't march. But why is nobody protesting outside these media outlets? Why is nobody protesting outside the New York Times? Why is nobody protesting outside CNN? Why is nobody protesting outside the Detroit Free Press, the Flint Journal, the Detroit News? Why are these journalists just allowed to be comfortable as they bury news, the news that might deliver a little bit of justice, a little bit of accountability? Why would they bury the stories that are there to hold accountable the government officials that poison the communities you're supposed to be covering? Your name is the Flint Journal. What the hell are you journaling about if not this? The Detroit Free Press, the name is Free Press. Are you the Free Press or are you the corporate press? Which one is it? Jordan sounds like a nihilist. Oh, no. Nihilism would be the opposite. I'd be telling you all to put your thumbs in your mouth, drink a little whiskey, and call it a day. I'm telling you, take action. I don't really give a shit at this point. Obviously, the Flint Journal is not going to cover this. Whoever is at the top, probably corporate parent companies, don't want them to. By the way, the Flint Journal building just happens to be across from the Mott Foundation, which is a major charitable foundation that basically runs Flint. They buy off the politicians. They have real estate developers that are connected to the foundation that are gentrifying the hell out of Flint. Right across the street. And from what I hear, might be some connections between the Mott Foundation and the Flint Journal. Have been looking into that. Detroit Free Press. Who's advertising? Who's advertising there? Who's corporate sponsors for the Detroit Free Press? By the way, Detroit Free Press is part of the USA Today network. You see any hard-hitting investigations in USA Today? These are not journalists, folks. Let's be clear. These are corporate public relations professionals masquerading as the Free Press, masquerading as journalists. The Mott Foundation actually, the Motts own U.S. Sugar, the largest sugar company in the country. I'm not going to stop showing up at the Flint Journal, the Detroit Free Press, the Detroit News. I don't care if it doesn't have an effect. I'm going to keep showing up. These people should be ashamed. Ron Fonger, who's the main reporter at the Flint Journal, who's covered the water crisis, you should be ashamed. Leonard Fleming at the Detroit News, who condescendingly responded to one of our viewers. I don't know who you are, but here's all the stories I've broken in all these cities, how great I am. Who then responded to me, basically saying, who the hell are you? I've never heard of you. And blah, 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 blah. I've broken stories here and there, and you shouldn't be telling your audience to email veteran reporters. Who the fuck put you on a pedestal? You're just as accountable to the public as government officials are. If you want to be a journalist and be a gatekeeper to life or death information, this is life or death we're talking about. People are dying there. People have died and are slowly dying. You want to be gatekeepers, be prepared for people to call you out if you're asleep at the gates. Or worse than asleep. Colin, let's move on to our visit to the Flint mayor's office. Flint mayor, Democrat. You would think if there was a major bombshell cover-up of the Flint water crisis that led to the people you represent as the mayor of Flint, cover-up of who poisoned them, who knew what when. Oh my God, if I was the mayor of Flint, I'd be in front of a camera the next minute. Press conferences, calling for accountability, calling for criminal charges. Let's show what happened when Jen and I visited Flint Mayor Sheldon Neeley's office.
Hello. Yeah, we're here to drop off something with Mayor Neeley. We're journalists. I don't know if he's here right now, but we broke a major story 2 weeks ago. I don't know if the mayor knows about it, so we wanted to drop off the information. Congress is investigating what we found.
Okay, you can do that.
Is he here?
You didn't, no, not for appointments. He is here, but not for open appointments.
We've met with him before because we did a documentary. So he might be familiar with us if you mention her name.
Yeah, Jordan Sheridan.
This is Melissa.
Hey, how you doing?
Can I help you?
Yeah, we're journalists. We broke a story 2 weeks ago. We wanted to make sure the mayor knew about it. It's pertaining to Governor Snyder and the Flint water cover-up. Congress actually spoke out on what we broke. So we found that top officials in the governor's office, when he was governor, their phones were erased right before the launch of the criminal investigation. Health officials, they had no messages on their phone for the entire period Flint used the Flint River. The governor refused to hand over documents for years. So I don't know if he knows about it or not, but we haven't been able to get this on his radar. Congressman Kildee hasn't spoken out about it. Congress, the Oversight Committee, they spoke out about it. They're investigating based on our findings. So I don't know. I assume the mayor would want to speak out once he knows about the information. So here's the Associated Press on the House Oversight Committee reacting, as well as Congress. Rashida Tlaib spoke out, Ro Khanna, a couple celebrities. So we hope that the mayor will speak out too, because this is a big cover-up.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
And he should be familiar with us. He attended we did a documentary, and before COVID hit, he attended, and so we've spoken with him several times.
Yeah, he knows us.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a major cover-up. The people of Flint deserve to know.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Is it still running?
Ring this so that I can check and see, like, is it?
That, I've been in the business for a bit. That is what we call, please get the fuck out of here. So, Mayor Neeley, who was there, by the way.
You could come back to it. You have to laugh to avoid crying, honestly. You have to laugh to avoid crying. First of all, I don't know who the woman is we spoke with. I think she's the communications director, but I can't say that with certainty, but I think that's who it was. Why elect? You're literally electing mayors who literally don't give a shit that there was a major government cover-up led by Republicans that poisoned the community you're the mayor of. Forget more morality or what's right or wrong, just politically. Wouldn't it be good politics to come out ranting and raving about this massive cover-up that credible news outlets just broke about the Republican governor who poisoned your constituents? And this, it's not her fault. She's just a flack for the mayor. They're acting like they don't know about it. Trust me, they know about it. Oh, thanks. Take care. I.e., get the fuck out of here. Let's move on to Congressman Dan Kildee's office. He is Flint's congressman. So we're talking federal. Flint's congressman. Go ahead.
I can leave here. No, I can't. It's not my rules. It's their rules.
Oh, so they don't like the public to.
Not that, but it's like it's not that they don't like the public to come up. It's like they're so busy and like the way that they go about things. It's just like
Right, to block the public from coming. So, I just want you to know what this is, so we can drop it off. We're journalists. We just broke a major story about the former governor, Rick Snyder, and his administration's cover-up of the water crisis. Congress, which Dan Kildee's part of, they actually reacted to it already. They're investigating based on what we found. House Oversight Committee. So we found that the governor's top officials, their phones were erased and their messages were erased right before the launch of the criminal investigation. A whole lot of other things in there, but so far, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib has spoken out about it. Congressman Ro Khanna has spoken out about it. Celebrities have spoken out about it, but we can't get Congressman Dan Kildee to say a damn word. Not your fault, by the way. But I think he already knows that. We're just dropping this off for him. Okay. Our numbers are on there if he wants to call us. Okay. Thank you, good sir.
Yeah.
No problem. You guys are here.
You too.
You can come back. Oh boy. Oh boy. I think my favorite part of that, there were so many, is when he says, you know, they're just so busy. That's why they won't let people up there. Oh yeah, they're so busy not saying a goddamn fucking word about the biggest cover up of the 21st century of the people that Congressman Dan Kildee represents. Just too busy. Too busy. I mean, you really, honestly, you cannot make this up. Can't make it up. They're just too busy. I also like the part. Where they said, what did he say? I wanted to stress this. And Colin, I don't have it with me. Can you take from the screenshot at the end of that video? Can you send me the numbers and the emails for Neeley and Kildee? I want to put it in the description of the video. If you have a chance. I put in the Flint Journal and Detroit Free Press, but I'm missing Neeley and Kildee. I think I sent it to you for the video. If you could just send it back to me. So, to be clear, Dan Kildee, Flint's congressman, he's in Congress. So, is he asleep in Congress? Because the House Oversight Committee in Congress issued a scathing statement about what we reported and said they're investigating it. You think Congressman Dan Kildee doesn't know that the Democratic House Oversight Committee, he's a Democrat, just reacted that they're investigating this major cover-up? I wonder why Congressman Dan Kildee is silent. Could it have anything to do with who gives him money? Remember I mentioned the Mott Foundation? The Mott Foundation, who has been gentrifying the hell out of Flint to push poor people out, poor black people out, who has bought off all the politicians in Flint, who honestly Flint can't stand or operate without Mott because Mott funds the hospitals, the schools, and a lot of things. Mott Foundation, look it up. Look up Mott Foundation and corruption. Look up Mott Foundation and racism. You'll find a lot of things. Mott Foundation, by the way, the family owns U.S. Sugar, largest sugar company in America. Because Mr. Kildee has gotten a lot of money from the Motts. Absolutely revolting. You should be ashamed of yourself, Congressman Kildee. Debbie Stabenow, Senator Debbie Stabenow, loves to get in front of a camera. If she could pretend that she's done something for Flint. Silence. Hasn't said a damn word. Isn't it interesting that the only congresswoman in Michigan that has said something doesn't even represent Flint? Rashida Tlaib. So the Michigan congresswoman will say something, but the Flint congressman, cat got his tongue. Folks, you might think what I'm about to ask you to do doesn't matter. I think it does. If you can, obviously people are busy, work a couple jobs, have kids. If you can't, no problem. If you can, there's numbers and emails to the Flint Journal to the Detroit Free Press, to Mayor Sheldon Neeley, to Congressman Dan Kildee. Give them a piece of your mind. I don't want you to do anything extreme, no violence. But why should these people get to pretend they don't know anything about this? Why should these people get to pretend that they are there demanding justice for the people of Flint, that they're there journalistically holding people accountable for the people of Flint, that they're the mayor demanding justice for the people of Flint, when they are silent about the biggest government cover-up of the 21st century? Colin has it up on the screen. I put it in the description of the video. Call them, email them. Don't stop. Don't stop just at tomorrow. Just don't stop next week. Keep at it. Annoy the living shit out of them. You could tell them, I told you that. Ask them, why did you get into journalism? If you're not going to cover and inform your Flint and Detroit and America about the biggest government cover-up of the 21st century, why are you not reporting that Flint residents are still 7.5 years later getting rashes, losing hair, eyes burning when they shower, slowly dying with all sorts of illnesses? Not a news story? Not sexy enough for you? It's just outrageous. Let me get to the super chats that came in throughout this. K-Birds, $1.99. Thanks again for coming to Akron. Thanks for having us. Enjoyed covering it. Enjoyed meeting all you. Das Bosch Fleisch, €4.99. I hope Nina runs again and again to win eventually. And on the way, makes it very expensive for the establishment to buy attack ads each time. Well, she did recently announce that she will have an announcement in September. Could mean a lot of things. I mean, Chantel Brown, who won't be formally elected until November. She's still got the general election, but it's just a formality. She's going to win because it's a Democratic area. But then she'll pretty much right away have to be up for re-election because this was a special election. So she will be up for re-election as a congresswoman next year. And the primary would probably be in spring or early summer. So Nina's announcement could be running again, could be running for Senate. Rob Portman is retiring, Ohio senator. So that will be up next month. You know, we'll see. We'll see. Fly Chomper Fly, $5. I canvassed Ohio and phone bank for Nina. Jay is right. Scorched earth wouldn't have worked because we had to convince voters who were not voting due to nastiness. Thank you, Fly Chomper Fly. Jane, $5. Force the vote method seems like the only reasonable course of action to address climate change. Yeah, I don't know about that. And this is coming, by the way, from somebody who supported it. I think the only method really to address healthcare, climate change, education, you name it, is economic boycotts. It seems the only thing they care about is their wallets. So if you hit them in their wallets, you might see rapid change because the donors will say to their servants, the politicians, you got to do something here. Give them something. We can't lose any more money. Thanks for the super chat. Cheryl, $10. Brilliant analysis, Jordan. So over the hate spewing, name calling elitists, calling Bernie obscene names did it for me. Yeah, there's a lot of people out there who frankly don't know anything. I don't mean that condescendingly or arrogantly. It's just the truth. A lot of them are just 20-something starting a YouTube channel and just tossing out whatever fucking sensational clickbaity bullshit headline they can find. Jumping on, fights between YouTube hosts to juice up their subscribers and views and money, pretending that, oh, no, we're just, you got to kind of make it attractive to people to watch so you can get them to click on it and then have the serious discussions. Yes, such serious discussions these people are having. Thanks for the super chat. Jason, tip $2. Sorry, it can't be more right now, but keep up the great work. Hey, any amount, we appreciate it. Thanks, Jason. Dick Long, I liked it. Dick Long, wow. $5. Jordan, it will take 100 years to get Medicare for All with Fraud Squad Part 1 and 2. Where was Turner at Medicare for All marches? Why do you ban people who expose you? ban you. You're right there commenting. I don't get it. I banned you. Okay. I mean, Dick, all I got to say is you're one of the people that I was talking about. So enjoy ranting about Fraud Squad part 1 and 2 and disqualifying Dina Turner because she didn't come to the march. By the way, a week and a half before the election, the march was 2 hours away where the voters couldn't vote in her district. She spent the day in her district with AOC at rallies, at events talking about Medicare for all, but she didn't come to your march. But you're not banned. But good luck. I'm sure ranting about the Fraud Squad will get you Medicare for all a lot sooner. Definitely. Dave Campbell, $20. Thank you. Kit Burns, 1999. Keep sharing the truth. Appreciate it. Thank you. Flying Champa Fly, $5. Feel better, Jen. We need your reporting. Yeah, she's been through the ringer. She'll speak more about it when she's back officially, but she was not good medically. Kit, $9.99. Truth. Appreciate it. Dick Long, $5. Jordan, I read this. Stick to the ground, on your ground reporting. That's your strength. Your political analysis has always been wrong. Yeah, go follow political analysis of people who just sit in their studio and blow V8 and know nothing. Enjoy that political analysis. Dickie Long. Observer, $5. Jordan, ignore nonsense from haters. Your analysis is 100% correct. I try to ignore them, but I think in some cases it's good to acknowledge them and point out why, respectfully, because I don't hate the people saying this. They're wrong. I don't know what else to say. They're wrong. Observers, $5. The worst, most vicious miscreants in politics love negative campaigning because they know it suppresses turnout and favors oligarchs and the bourgeoisie. You're right. Absolutely. And it helps distract from their policies. Rootstock, $5. What can we learn from the Buffalo mayoral primary? Is there a new template for left candidates emerging? I don't want to blow smoke up your ass. I haven't followed it. I don't really know how the socialist candidate, what her messaging was. I do want to cover that. I do know that the current mayor is now trying to essentially strip the mayoral office of power so that if she becomes mayor, she doesn't have any power. We've seen Republicans do this, by the way, in some cities and states when a Democrat wins. Basically try and change laws to remove powers for the governor or mayor. But I can't genuinely answer. I don't know much about it. So I'll look into it. 86 Blackberry, $5. Jordan, you should be a campaign manager advisor. No, thanks. Not interested. But I think a lot of these candidates need better campaign managers and advisors. Observer, $10. I don't care about alienating the bourgeoisie, but the main issue is you have to have a positive program. Bernie alienated the F out of them by calling universal rent control. I hate to tell you, Observer, and thanks for the super chat, you should care about alienating the bourgeoisie. At the end of the day, a vote is a vote. It don't matter if it's a working class person or the bourgeoisie. It counts the same. So I'm not saying go to brunch with the white suburbanites voting against Medicare for all and things like that. But if you're just going to basically cancel them, not try to win their votes, then we're going to keep losing because those are the most reliable voters, including older voters. So this is kind of the eat your broccoli and green beans type thing. It's a lot easier and better for clicks to say, fuck them all. Let's burn it down. That'll get it done. If she would have run a scorched earth campaign against the Democratic Party, it would have excited progressives nationally who can't vote in that district, and she would have won. I saw that argument from a lot of people. It's just not true. I don't know what else to say. It's not factual. MHC, $10. I, for one, appreciate your nuance, Jordan. While the Dems do seem to have all the bases covered, we could still reach out to people and at the same time use proverbial controlled demolition as needed. Absolutely. And by the way, just to point something out, at one point in the primaries, Bernie Sanders' campaign was actually closing the gap against Biden with older voters considerably, because Bernie's campaign, and David Sirota was part of this, was hammering him on his repeated attempts to weaken Social Security and cut benefits and those kind of things. That was working. TV ads, digital messaging, specifically on an issue that matters to older people, including, middle class to upper middle class older people. So on policies, again, they're more with us than they are Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi, but they just aren't with us on burn it all down, burn down the Democratic Party. So what is the choice? Do you want to just try and get them to join us and, ram this square peg into a round, I always get this confused. Square peg into a round hole and just, it's like your Thanksgiving dinner. Are you going to convince your crazy Republican uncle to burn it all down? You're going to convince your neoliberal auntie to burn it all down? No, you're not. So why are you trying to convince them to burn it all down and we need a revolution? Why don't you just talk their language and try and convince them that, no, these people aren't going to, burn down the village. They're just going to fight for policies that might actually help you and might actually help your children and grandkids. But thanks for the super chat. CJ, $4.99 and $10. And join Status Quo and super chat and help with Jen's expenses due to COVID-19. Sad she is still suffering from COVID-related conditions. Absolutely. And thank you for helping. It was expensive for her to stay there. Probably a couple more. I don't know how much the hotel was every night, but probably put us back at least $500-600 extra for her to stay there. Plus, now the flight home for her. So if you got a couple bucks, drop it in the GoFundMe. I'll put the GoFundMe in here one more time. Fly Jumper Fly, $5. If the only place people get their news info is MSM, then they will be manipulated. Note, I talked to people in Ohio who had no idea about their rally. Thank you. Completely agree. Tanette, $50. Holy cow. Thank you so much, Tanette. Thank you, Jordan. We need thousands of real journalists like you and Jen. So thankful. You're 100% correct on Nina, and we must get the evil in Flint and ask over the nation prosecuted. From your lips, if there is a God's ear. I truly wish there was a lot more journalists doing what we're doing here. I would welcome the competition because we certainly cannot do it all. And it's exhausting covering all these stories while the rest of the media is covering nothing. Amy, $9.99. For your health, Jen and everyone's. My dad has COVID after being vaccinated. 2 ER visits, but no admission. Thank goodness. We need universal health care now. I'm with you. And by the way, I mean, I'm just over dealing with the coronavirus truthers and the anti-vaxxers. It's just, I can't deal with them anymore. But I'm telling you, man, this thing is, we're going to be in this for the next 5 years, maybe longer. It's the Delta variant now. It'll be a different variant in a couple months. At some point, this thing is going to mutate so many times that it's going to be very difficult to find a vaccine that will work. And frankly, I understand there's certain wings of the population that they're not getting the vaccine out of selfishness. Black people in particular. There's a lot of Black people hesitant to get the vaccine, even people I know, because of, historical, basically experimenting on Black people. And I get that. But there's a lot more people that are just, frankly, coronavirus has become a culture war and a liberal first conservative issue. And they're literally willing to die, to risk their children's lives. Because, look at Florida. Hospitals are filled up with children. Where do you think they're getting it? Where do you think they're getting it from? Adults, mostly. It's just really, it's annoying. It's frustrating. And it also sucks for people who have been vaccinated, Like, I don't have long haul COVID like Jen does, but I have asthma now. Like bad asthma. There's not a day that goes by I'm not coughing a lot. I took my inhaler before I started this. I didn't have asthma before I got coronavirus. I now have asthma. I have a cough that won't go away. I've had to take 2 packs of steroids. It goes away for a little bit and then it comes back. Every time I travel, I come back, it comes back because I think environmental factors are triggering it. It's not fun. And a lot of people have it way worse than me with longer term symptoms than just that. And, you know, when I get back, I have to quarantine for my wife. So I'm already gone from my wife and my lovely dog for over a week after being on the road for 2 weeks before that. And then we quarantine for a couple days until I get a negative test, because I could certainly get it again traveling this much. Give it to her or her parents or my parents. It's just terrible. Wow, Tanette, another $50. Holy shit. Tanette, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. You're very kind. They all need to be prosecuted. The media is just as corrupt as Congress. Hashtag general strike. Hashtag learn MMT. Everyone needs to understand we aren't broke. Obama and Trump should have spent the money needed to fix the pipes. Hashtag criminals invest in status quo. Yes. Don't forget President Obama, who, while he was, having his maskless, bougie, elitist 60th birthday party on Martha's Vineyard, he pretended to drink water in Flint and said everything's fine. Thank you again for that. Observer, $10. My point, Jordan, was not burning it down, but emphasize a positive pro-working class as Bernie did. The bourgeoisie be damned, because there's way more of us than there are them. I get your point. I understand that, but you got to also understand positive, yes, but a lot of these people knocking on doors, or a lot of the messaging in certain campaigns is negative on the party that they support. So you could feed them positive working class programs like Medicare for All, which these same voters, remember, in the Democratic primary, even though Bernie lost it, every state in the Democratic primary, the majority of voters supported Medicare for All. But they were fed a steady diet of propaganda and bullshit that Biden was the pragmatic choice. Bernie was a risk against Trump. We need a message to combat that. We need a message to combat, to inform people that, oh no, the reason your healthcare is going up is because of these Democratic Party policies. The reason you're working 2 or 3 jobs is because of these Democratic Party policies. We're not trying to burn down the party here. We're trying to come in and actually improve your community, because the same old has gotten us where we are. We're trying to save the planet for your grandkids. But I understand the point you're trying to make. So thank you. Levon Hewley, $4.99. Pandemic relief aid is up in 4 weeks, the week of Labor Day, no less. Joe Manchin has threatened to hold up aid extension. Well, now it's a time for choosing for progressives in the House. AOC, Sheila Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Cory Bush, Mondaire Jones, Ro Khanna, Prabila Jayapal, several of them, as I said earlier, have said we will not vote for the bipartisan infrastructure bill without the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill. That's called hardball. That's what people who have been calling them frauds and sellouts have demanded they do. They're currently doing it. We'll see if they follow through. Absolutely. Let's not count our chickens before they hatch. But I think they should be playing hardball on that too. They should continue playing hardball on the eviction moratorium. Frankly, where the fuck were they when Biden added $25 billion to the already insane defense budget? So I'm with you. Thanks for reminding me about that. All right, folks, I really, really appreciate you watching. Again, please look in the description of this video. You got the contact for the Flint Journal, Detroit Free Press, Flint Mayor Sheldon Neeley, Flint Congressman Dan Kildee. Call them, email them, annoy them. I'm taking tomorrow off. Back at it next week. Thank you for watching. Have a great time. Have a great weekend.